Hi everyone. What we're going to do today is take a look at three different sets of data. So we're looking at the concentration of A versus time, B versus time, and C versus time. So what we want to do is figuring out which of these, A, B, or C, has a zero order kinetics, which has first order kinetics, and which has second order kinetics. So first let's take a look at zero order. To take a look at zero order, what we want to do is plot concentration versus time. It's pretty straightforward on this front. But to really do that, we need to see, the data. Okay, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Let's just go from there. Sorry. We need to plot each of these and see which is linear. That's what I meant to say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the first two columns so we can plot A. Highlight the first two columns. I'm going to go to Insert in Google Sheets. Then we'll go to Chart. Now once this opens, a lot of times we'll see a super funky line chart that doesn't actually make any sense, right? So ignoring this, we're going to go over to the chart editor. We're going to click Chart Type. So sometimes you'll see it under Suggested. If not, you want the Scatter chart. So I'm going to click here and we get our nice, beautiful curve. So this is very pretty, but it does not look very linear. If you want to confirm that, if you click on any one of the data points, you'll see our chart editor flipped over to Customize. And if we scroll down and we click Trend Line, it defaults to linear, and we'll see this is really not showing up as a straight line. So if you want to see the equation for it, we can use equation, but again, it doesn't really fit our data, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. Great. So that's A. I'm going to move that over to the side, and let's click B. So I'm press down Control, keep that pressed. I'm going to click over A and C now for column labels. So I have my time and my concentration to be highlighted. Insert chart. This time, for some reason, it defaulted to a column chart. I'm not quite sure where they get their defaults from. We see Suggested doesn't show up here, so I'm going to go down to Scatter, click that, and now we get our nice chart. Unfortunately, because of this, we lost our title. So I'm going to go over in our chart editor to Customize. Chart axes and titles, the second block down. Click in chart title and type in concentration of B versus time. And we see that shows up when we're good. We can also add labels to the axes, and by changing from chart title to say horizontal axis title, so we can say time here. Our vertical axis title, we can say concentration of B. There we go. Nice chart for B. Again, does not look very linear at all, so I'm not going to worry about trying to graph that. Let's take a look at C. So I'm going to hold down Control, click here, click there, Insert, Chart. Again, it's defaulting weird because that would be too easy. So for chart type, again, I'm going to go down to Scatter. Hey, that looks like a really pretty linear line. Let's confirm it. So I'm going to go to Customize, click on one of these data points. It automatically shows up under Series. Click Trend Line. Oh, linear is looking pretty. And if I use my equation for my label, I can get the equation. And from the equation, I can get my value for K. Because remember, when you're looking at these, if I plot this versus time, negative K is equal to my slope. So in this case, K for C, my rate constant, would be 0.25. Awesome. All right, since this is a nice chart that I'd want to use, I'm going to go up to chart axes, label this. Oops, this is vertical title, so I'm going to do concentration of C, horizontal, time, chart title, concentration of C versus time. That way, when I go back to refer to it later, I know exactly which chart is which, and it'll make it a lot easier for me to check my data. Awesome. So now we've ruled out and we know that C is going to be zero order. Great. Now I want to do this for first order and second order as well. So I'm going to click anywhere on the chart. I'm going to make a whole new sheet for this. So I'm going to hit Control A. That gets part of it. I'm going to hit it one more time to get the entire sheet. On an Apple, that would be Command A. I'm going to copy with Control or Command C. Go down to this lower corner here, hit plus sign, add sheet. And then while my cursor's in this top box over here, hit Control or Command V. And that's going to paste everything in. Like I said, it might take a second to get all the data in there. Don't worry about that, but it'll get there. Great. Now, if we think of for first order, we can't just plot concentration versus time. We have to plot natural log of the concentrations versus time. So we've got to do a little bit of math. First off, I'm going to write my chart title so I can keep track. So ln of A, ln of B, and ln of C. Oops, that should be square bracket. Great, so now I need to do natural log calculations. It would be way too hard to actually do all 60 of these in a calculator. It'd be a giant pain in the butt. So we're not going to waste your time. We're going to let Google Sheets do its thing. So whenever I want to use an equation, the first thing I've got to do is hit the equal sign. It tells Sheets that yes, this is time to actually do some calculations. So I'm going to do natural log. Now, parentheses, Google's pretty intense about having the parentheses. And then since I want to do it for my first value for A, I'm just going to click in this box. And you see it automatically populated with B2, saying it's coming from B2. I hit enter. Boom, there's my natural log of 5. Now, I don't really want to type that in 60 times. So we can automatically copy it. So if I go back to highlight this cell, you see the little square box in the corner, and you see when my cursor goes over it, it changes. It turns into the little plus symbol. I'm going to hold down my mouse. I'm going to drag that down. And it just took all those natural logs from me. Beautiful. Don't have to worry about it. Now, keep it highlighted, move it over 2 more, and we've got it all done. Now, if we take a look at C, we've got to be careful. We can't take the natural log of 0, so it's going to freak out on us a little bit here. I'm just going to delete this. We already know C is 0 order anyway, but that way when we graph it, we don't get any weird data, so I'm just going to delete that number. Okay, let's plot A as for natural log of A versus time. So again, hit Control, keep that pressed down, click over A, click over E, insert chart. Again, it's picking a weird option, and all of the suggested options are kind of strange. So I'm going to go down to scatter. Now, sometimes this happens. You look at your scatter plot saying this is not right. So this is where you've got to look at it in a little bit of detail. I want my x-axis to be time. That is correct. That's fine. So for my series, for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why I did this, it picked up both natural log of A and natural log of C. So this one I just want to be A, so I'm going to get rid of the C. I'm going to click on the 3 dots, find LNC, and click remove. You may or may not see this. I'm not quite sure why that glitch happens sometimes, but it's there. Great, now we've got our beautiful chart. Our title's a little funky, so I'm going to go to Customize and get rid of the LNC. Now that's looking pretty nice and linear to me, so let's take a look. If I click on one of these data points, it pops up my transfer format data point, trend line. Oh, that's a nice linear line. Again, I'm going to put the equation up there, and the slope is also for first order equal to negative k. So our k in this case would be 0.15. Fantastic. All right, let's confirm this with B and C. A is looking to be first order. That's fantastic. Let's see. We know C is 0 order, but let's just see how everything else plots out. I'm going to hit Control, click A, click over to F. Both of those columns are formatted now. Insert chart. Click our chart type, scatter. Fantastic. So we've got natural log of B over time. Let's just add that as the label. Oops. ln L, there we go, ln b versus time. So horizontal is going to be time, vertical is going to be ln b, and we're good. So I'm not going to worry about writing the trend line for that. We don't need that information right now. Fantastic. That's definitely not going to be linear. Let's do one more. A versus C, insert chart. I'm going to go to scatter. Great, it showed up as one of the options. Again, definitely not looking linear, and all of our labels are set for us. So based on sheet 1, the original sheet, we can tell that C versus time is going to be linear, meaning this is 0 order. In sheet 2, we can tell the natural log of A versus time is linear, which tells us that A is second order. So first order. Let me just say that again. Natural log of A versus time is linear, so therefore A is first order. Now I'm going to select all again, copy, put this into one more sheet. And let's do third order. Second order, wow, okay. Third sheet, second order. Get rid of this, we don't need that. Remember, for second order, we have to look at the inverse. So 1 over A, 1 over B, 1 over C. So I'm going to set my labels. 1 over concentration of B, 1 over concentration of C. And again, to do the math, we just have to do equals 1 divided by, and I'm going to click in B2 for that first A concentration. And we know 1 over 5 is 0.2, so we're good to go there. Click, hold down, drag 2 columns over, and we're good. Again, we have an error because we're dividing by 0. Great, make that go away. Fantastic, so now we have our inverse concentration versus time. Let's plot that. Well, we know A is first order, so we're not expecting this to be linear. So if we do a quick check on that, definitely not linear. But notice the difference from before, we're now looking at a positive slope, not a negative slope. This is a big difference with second orders. Great, let's do B. A versus B. Remember to hold down control in between. I'm going to go to my scatter plot. Oh, that's looking pretty. That's fantastic. And that's what we were expecting. If we had one of each, we would have been expecting that B is second order, and that's the way it's looking. So I'm going to click on a data point, add a trend line, perfectly linear. We have our equation. In this case, because our slope is positive, our K is equal to positive slope this time. So instead of having to take the negative of it, we can just say our K is going to be equal to 0.2. So let me add some titles so we can keep track of this. So vertical axis title is going to be 1 over the concentration of B. Horizontal axis title is just going to be time. And our chart title is going to be 1 divided by the concentration of B versus time. Great. Again, easy way to keep track of everything is we keep everything labeled. Okay. Sorry, sometimes it gets a little glitchy, but there we go. One more graph and we're good to go. Highlight A, highlight C while hitting Control, insert chart, chart type, scatter plot, most definitely not linear. We're good down here, but then it goes up at the end. This is why sometimes it's important to keep things going for longer periods of time, because initial trends can fool you a little bit. So everything's labeled, but not linear, so we don't have to worry about that. So we can definitely see that B, since the inverse of B versus time is linear, B is going to be second order. We go back to sheet 2. Natural log of A versus time is linear, so A is first order. And on this sheet, concentration of C versus time is linear, so C is going to be 0 order. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.